There's something about Cathy Freeman's new ad yesterday that keeps bothering me. It's where she says, vote yes to this voice that divides us by race in the Constitution, so we'll then unite.
We have the chance to be part of a moment that brings people together. I'm voting yes, and I am asking that all Australians do too.
That bothers me because when you look at Freeman's own ancestry, including her mother and stepfather, it really shows that Australians of all races have been coming together more and more for generations and without a voice. Her own background also shows it's increasingly weird to say this or that person is Aboriginal, only Aboriginal, when so many of us now have got such hybrid backgrounds, as Freeman herself found when she went on the show Do You Know Who I Am? To discover her ancestors.
Your grandfather's father, a picture of him anyway, it's a photo of him there on the wall.
Is that him?
Yes.
There?
It's your great-grandfather.
But what of her other great-great-grandfather, George Charles Sibley?
He arrived from Britain on the 15th of November 1883.
He joined a long line of Catherine's family.
There's also a Chinese ancestor that she had. Joining me is Sky News presenter James McPherson of The Late Debate here on Sky at 10 p.m. and Evelyn Ray, writer and commentator. Thanks to you both. James, are we fast actually becoming a post-race country, at least in our racial makeup, where someone like Cathy Freeman's got Aboriginal, Chinese, English ancestry, and I don't know what else?
Andrew, I think we are a post-racial country that activists are trying to re-racialise. I mean, as you know, I live in a post-racial home. I've got twin 18-year-old sons adopted from Ethiopia, and I've spent their entire lives trying not to protect them from racism, but to protect them from those who want to racialise them. That's not to say my boys haven't experienced racism in their lives. There's racists everywhere, but Australia is overwhelmingly a post-racial country. When I was leaving for work this evening, I said to my boys, do you think Australia's a racist country? And they said, Dad, you ask the weirdest questions. I said, no, we're talking about it tonight on the Andrew Bolt Show, and I want to know, because I'm white, so I'd say we're not racist, but you're black, what do you think? And you know what my son said to me, Andrew? He said, Dad, I've never even thought about it before. That's the real Australia, and I've spent my life trying to protect my boys, not from the odd incidents of racism, but to protect them from activists who want to convince them that they're victims, because if you can convince my boys that they're oppressed, you can convince them that they need you, and now you have power over them, and that would be a tragedy. And unfortunately, that's what activists are trying to do in this country.
Well, next time I'll cut out the middleman and ask your sons on. Evelyn, what do you make of it? I mean, you got now, the ANZ Bank admitting that it's funding putting $2 million of shareholders' money into this same campaign, which includes the ad. I mean, why fund this kind of crude racism?
I think the big banks are going to do whatever keeps the heat off the big banks. And we have to wonder why big banks, big business, the rich, the famous, and almost anybody who is in the spotlight always seems to go with the leftist cause on trend. The irony is that once upon a time, it was these very people, the rich, who were the enemies of the Marxists, the enemies of all these sorts of movements, and now they're actually funding it. And I think they're going to continue to feed the beast just to keep the targets off their backs. It's self-preservation through virtue signaling. But I think the public is starting to catch on, to be honest, and it's probably about time that they do.
Yeah, this crude racist message, why would they fund that? But James, there have been messages on both sides I don't like, but a lot of Australians do seem completely over the endless welcome to country ceremonies, constantly welcoming them to their own country, like this ludicrous ceremony at the MCG last weekend. But I must say that my friend Sam Newman, the former football champion, completely out of order today, I thought, saying that AFL fans should boo that ceremony come the grand final.
Andrew, I think a lot of Australians would be very sympathetic with Sam Newman's views. I was at my son's school graduation today, and they began the graduation by having an acknowledgement of country and then saying, quote unquote, we want to express our deep sorrow for colonisation. Then they invited us to stand and sing the national anthem. Well, how can you sing Australians All Let Us Rejoice after you've just told us that we have caused great sorrow by actually being here? I unconsciously let out an audible, you've got to be kidding me, and people in the row I was sitting with all started giggling and afterwards came up and said, we don't blame you, we were thinking the exact same thing. People are more upset that Sam Newman said we should boo than they are upset by people saying we should be divided by race. Which is the greater problem here? I think Sam Newman is the least of our worries. The bigger problem is this continual effort to divide people by race.
Yeah, well, this is Lydia Thorpe's response. She's a real race baiter today. It strikes me that this is exactly why the Welcome to Country ceremonies are now so resented. Here she is.
Sam Newman, I'm not sure why he's even in the news. He's irrelevant to any debate of the time. A Welcome to Country is simply that. We all are on stolen land. There's never been a treaty. And a Welcome to Country is a way to bring people along on an understanding of the country that you're all living on.
Evelyn Rae, it sounds to me that it's a really fake welcome if you always are meant to feel you're on stolen land.
It's just a perpetual reminder that white people don't belong here. You don't welcome someone to their own house. That would just be offensive, and it is. And to be honest, I'm all for the booing because all voices matter. Isn't that what we're told? Isn't that the slogan that we're being told right now? And if all voices matter, then all voices should matter. And we've been repeatedly told that we're colonizers, that we're thieves, that we're murderers. Yeah. So I think a boo is fairly polite.
No boos. No boos. I like polite. Evelyn Rae, James McPherson, thank you so much for your time.